Alright, two things. One, I totally forgot to bring this out during my Incredible Hulk review. And two, I ain't gonna lie, I'm starting to get fatigued. But hey, I'm halfway through the Fast and Furious series and halfway through Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so hang in there, Brad. Iron Man 2 is the second Iron Man film and the third film of Marvel Phase 1. After the success of the first film, the studio forced Jon Favreau to rush out the second film, because Jon Favreau, at first, he wanted to crank it out within 3 years. But hey, Marvel Studios, they had plans. Pretty big plans, if you ask me. But Iron Man 2 as a whole, does it hold up? Well, let's see. So Iron Man 2 takes place sometime after Iron Man 1. Everything's all fine and dandy with Tony Stark. He's revealed to the world that he's Iron Man and he has used his suits for peaceful means, but the government wants him to turn in his suits, but he refuses. While this is going on, the palladium core of his arc reactor, which is within Tony's chest, is poisoning him and is slowly leading him to his death. And he can't find a cure, so he spends most of the movie trying to remedy it and reverse the poison. Among those two plot lines, we also get Ivan Vanko, who creates his own miniature arc reactor similar to Tony Stark's. He uses it to power electrical whips, hence he's called Whiplash. Ivan travels to Monaco, where Tony participates in his Grand Prix race, where Ivan ambushes him and attacks him. Long story short, Tony Stark beats him with his new Iron Man suit. Ivan fakes his own death with the assistance of Justin Hammer, and Justin appoints Ivan to build a line of his own armored suits so that he can upstage Tony Stark as an arms dealer. Now, with all those story arcs, that's the biggest flaw with the movie, is that there's too many plot points within this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I personally have no problem with having too many plot points within a movie, but at the same time, if you're going to do it where it doesn't feel all convoluted. Now, at this point, I'm about halfway through explaining this movie, so let's talk about the characters real quick. We got Robert Downey Jr. returning as Iron Man / Tony Stark, and of course, he always nails it. I actually love seeing Robert Downey Jr. play Tony Stark more than Iron Man. And it was cool seeing Tony Stark deal with trying to reverse the poisoning and deal with the government trying to get a hold of his suits. But I also feel like there was a slight change in his character, though. Because in the first movie, he was redeemed, and he had a change of heart. But in this movie, even though he's redeemed, but at the same time, it kind of feels like he went back to his old ways. And even during his birthday party, like, he puts on the suit, and then he just starts firing the blast from his suits and whatever, and he's putting people in danger. I'm like, now he's back to his carefree self. However, when you're dying and you know you're dying, you're going to kind of have a relapse of judgment. But at the same time, don't make it so drastic, though. Gwyneth Paltrow returns as Pepper Potts, and she was fine in the movie. In this movie, Tony Stark makes her CEO of Stark Enterprises. The chemistry between Pepper and Tony is always there, or should I say Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow. But it always works, and the banter works. But in this movie, I feel like they just went times 10 with the banter in this movie. Like the first scene they have in the movie together.
Oh,
Tony,
God,
I really need you to stop playing Nirvana. I need you to put on the suit. I need you to CEO for a reason. I need you to run a company. Tony, are you listening to me? Come on, man. Tony, come on, man. Come on. Sam Rockwell, who is good in most things and is underrated as an actor, he plays Justin Hammer in this movie, and he was really good in this movie. He's an arms dealer like Tony Stark once was. Halfway through the movie, he pretty much becomes the bad guy when he appoints Ivan / Whiplash to make his suits for him. Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash, is played by Mickey Rourke, and he killed it in this role. And as the character Whiplash, I actually really liked him a lot. And he's one of my favorite characters within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just wish they used him a little more. Like the Monaco scene where he attacks Tony for the first time, one of my favorite action scenes within the movie. But after that, any other action scene with Whiplash is just meh. The two characters I haven't talked about yet is Black Widow and Rhodey. I'm going to get more into Black Widow later though, but let's talk about Rhodey real quick. Now real quick, I just want you to know, I hate recasting the movie. I hate it. I just do. I'm sorry. I hate it when one actor plays a character in one movie, but then another person plays the same character in another movie. And I'm sorry, I hate inconsistencies. I hate it when they do that, and I hate recast. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm talking to you, Rachel Dawes, from Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. But y'all know, Terrence Howard played Rhodey in Iron Man 1, but in Iron Man 2, he is replaced with Don Cheadle. The reason why is because for Iron Man 2, Robert Downey Jr. wanted a higher salary the second time around, and the studio wouldn't allow it because Terrence Howard was the highest paid actor in the first movie. So Robert Downey Jr. said, okay, well, let's take some of his cut from his salary and add it onto mine. And so the studio said, yeah, sure, why not? He's the lead actor in the movie, he's the star of the film, so yeah, go ahead. The story could be completely different from what I just said. I'm just saying that's what I heard, but either way, Terrence Howard left because the studio wouldn't pay him his money, so he was like, alright, y'all don't want to pay me? Alright, fine, peace. And so he's replaced with Don Cheadle, who plays Rhodey in the movie, aka the War Machine. Now, Don Cheadle, as an actor, he's not bad in the movie, and the way Don Cheadle was used in the movie, I thought he wasn't bad, but the character, I felt like he was a little more annoying this time around than it was in the first Iron Man. The character, not the actor, though, but I'm just saying, half of the movie is just Rhodey talking to Robert Downey Jr. like, Tony, you need to turn in the suits. Tony, you need to turn in the suits. Hell, even the one scene during Tony's birthday, Rhodey comes in and he's trying to get Tony to turn in the suits. And then he sees Tony putting people in danger when he's blasting his Iron Man suit all around. And so he goes downstairs, gets the Mark II Iron Man suits, and just put it on. Now, this is one problem I have in the movie, because it's like, I don't want to suspend my disbelief that Rhodey just goes downstairs, puts on, activates, and monitors the Mark II Iron Man suit. But hey, it also leads to a sweet, awesome fight between Tony and Rhodey. And I thought that scene was pretty funny. And yet I wonder, hey, they're pretty much two robots fighting each other, and y'all didn't make one Rock'em Sock'em Robots reference. But him and Tony get into it, and then Rhodey takes the Mark II suit to base, while Tony goes to this donut shop the other morning. And who should visit him? Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. Nick Fury visits Tony to tell him two things. One, that the assistant, Natalie Rushman, that Pepper Potts hired, is actually Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, and that she is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, Black Widow, she is played by the beautiful Scarlett Johansson. I absolutely love Scarlett Johansson. She is my number 2 fantasy wife. Like, Scarlett Johansson, she's like someone that I would shred my single bachelor life just to settle down and marry. But some dude named Damian Durake, that she is with right now and that she just had a baby with, has made it impossible for me. So, but her as Black Widow in the movie, she was functional. She handled all her action scenes well. And for what she was given, she honestly wasn't really given much in the movie. Like, she was just there for the action scenes and to be the assistant. Otherwise, she was just eye candy. Like, they know what they used her for, and quite frankly, for the character Black Widow, I thought that was a pretty unuseful way to introduce her into this universe. And they just didn't really give her much to do in this movie. Granted, they did learn from this within the future movies that she's featured in, though. But as far as her in this movie, she was just shoehorned into this movie because Avengers. But back to Nick Fury, he also helps Tony reverse the poisoning, and he reveals that his father, Howard Stark, was one of the founding members of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that the arc reactor that he created was actually a joint project between him and Anton Vanko. Anton Vanko wanted to use the arc reactor to get rich, and so when Howard found out, he had him deported and raised his son in Russia. Hence the reason why Ivan attacked Tony in Monaco, because for years he has held a grudge against Tony and his family for what they did to his family. Through all this information, Tony finds a new element for the arc reactor in his chest through a diagram of an old diagram of the Stark Expo that his father built, and it was decoded within the diagram. So Tony finds it and he makes a new element. Now, the climax of the movie I actually fairly enjoyed. I really liked it a lot. It is when, at the Expo, Justin Hammer, he introduces his line of armored suits, but Ivan Drago, he gets a hold of him, he controls him, and he also gets in control of Rhodey's new War Machine suit. And they attack Iron Man with his new Mark IV Iron Man suit. But with the help of Natasha Romanoff, she goes back to Justin Hammer's lab, she turns off Rhodey's suit, and Rhodey and Tony, they defeat all of Ivan's drones, and Justin Hammer gets arrested, and Ivan commits suicide by blowing up his suit. Later on, at a debriefing, Nick Fury informs Tony that he is no longer a candidate for the Avengers team, but rather a consultant. And then after that, he is awarded a medal for what he did at the Expo. As for the action, like I said, I liked the Monaco scene. The climax of the movie was pretty good. I'd say the action within the first film was weak, but the brilliance of that movie made it up. And so when we get to this movie, the action is a whole lot better than the action in the first movie, so I can appreciate them for that. The characters are good. Now, of course, I gotta talk about the Marvel Easter eggs, like we get to see Captain America's shield when Tony's trying to build a new element for his arc reactor in his suit. I thought that was pretty good, cool. Tony is getting briefed at the very end by Nick Fury. We see that news report of the Incredible Hulk when he attacked that university, and the Incredible Hulk. I thought that was pretty cool. But I say the biggest flaw with this movie is the biggest Easter egg, and that is the fact that this movie felt more so like an Avengers prequel between all the Howard Stark stuff and the Black Widow stuff and the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. Like, all that made it seem like it was an Avengers prequel. Now, granted, I don't really have no problem with a setup type movie, but I can understand where it kind of gets frustrating. But I will say that Iron Man 2 is everything I hope Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice will not be. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Phil Coulson returns in this movie. He's played by Clark Gregg. He is assigned to watch Tony at his house when he's looking for the new element and the secrets and stuff. But then he gets reassigned to Mexico. And in the end credit scene, we see him drive into Mexico, and what does he find? Thor's hammer. And then boom, cut the credits, and we just hear thunder. I remember when I saw that, I was like... In the end, Iron Man 2 was a step down from the first movie. It was rushed out, and it was clearly an Avengers prequel. I will agree, it is the weakest of the Iron Man films, and it is the weakest of the Phase 1 Marvel movies. But as a movie for me, and my personal experience with it, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. The action was good, the story was semi-good, the characters were pretty good. Honestly, I cannot picture Terrence Howard in this movie. I felt like Don Cheadle, he did a good job filling in his shoes within this movie. And I felt like his character did get a little better with future Iron Man sequels. And I hear that Don Cheadle returns as War Machine Rhodey in the Avengers Age of Ultron. And I can't wait to see what they do with him in that movie. I will give Iron Man 2 a B, for I would buy it on DVD or Blu-ray. That's it for the day. You like what you see, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my other channel. The links are in the description below. And be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. And be sure to check out my website. Peace.